Just polishing that up for later. What's going on, guys? Tobin here with you. Thanks for checking out the channel. Much appreciated. Just got back from the Kaseya Center. What a rotten drive it was. Good God. I mean, is there enough construction on the damn turnpike to get up here? But anyway, appreciate y'all who are sticking with me, who like to still watch the loss recap videos as the Heat lose game 4. No sweepy sweeps. They fall to the Celtics 116-99. Probably Miami's, I would say, honestly, the worst performance of the postseason. Maybe, I mean, we could go back all the way to round 1 with that game 2 against the Milwaukee Bucks. But you think, like, road game, bombs away, pretty expected. I think with this one, this was an interesting one because, yeah, you did have Boston up against the ropes. And I can say all the talk of the last game where everybody was saying, not letting human nature come in and not letting it creep out, did very much feel like one team, especially in the second half, was fighting for their season and the other was, up 3-0. And I'm not saying Boston didn't execute because they certainly had a great shooting night. I think the shooting night they've been waiting for in this series. Jason Tatum had a really outstanding game. He was doing a little bit of everything. He was locking guys up. He was getting steals, getting blocks. Even Grant Williams was stuffing Jimmy up at one point. So Boston just played flat out better. They deserved the game. They earned the game, and they kept their season alive. I know that they were jawing a lot going into this game. Don't let us get one. Don't let us win tonight. I mean, look, it was a must win for them by every which way. They don't win, their season is over. And Miami gets 3 more cracks at trying to close out this series. So, disappointing because obviously sweeping the Boston Celtics is humiliating to them, and that would have been amazing fun. But also, you know what else is fun? Going with top hats and monocles to the TD Garden and finishing that puppy off with the best 3 words in sports, Heat and 5. So the one thing I'll say about this game, just a lot of weird vibes in it in general. Because especially with Miami, I didn't even feel like they were playing great in the first half. And yet they finished off both the first and second quarter and finished off with a 6-point lead. So I was like, you know what? I don't really feel like they've gone full throttle here. The only thing that I will say was weird about Miami, they finished off, they were up by 6 going into the second. And then a strange thing that is out of the norm for Miami, Jimmy Butler stayed out for the second quarter. And typically Jimmy plays all of the first. And, if you're not in an elimination scenario, is, going to get some rest. And oddly, he stayed out there and really nothing happened. In all honesty, it went in a very, very positive direction for Boston. They went on they ended up getting the lead 37-34 before the Heat called timeout, and then ended up taking Jimmy out. And then, the Heat kind of get back into things. They fight back and, are doing okay with giving Jimmy a rest. But I just found that odd. He was it's not typically how they do the rotation. And I just found it a little bit weird. It was almost like Jimmy was hoping that maybe one more push and they could get the Celtics to melt down a little bit. I don't know. I don't really know the reasoning behind it. But I found that a little bit weird. There were a couple of Jimmy things that I found strange today as far as the subbing was concerned. But, as far as that second quarter, even though it got off to a really dicey start, Miami was able to, kind of fight back. They go into the break with a 6-point lead. You're like, you got a 6-point lead going into the break at home. You have to be feeling pretty good, especially considering the fact that, you didn't have this monster game yet from Jimmy. And then third quarter came back. Third quarter, hello, our old friend. We haven't seen you in a while. And this was a rough one. This was a rough one by every measure. Gets off to a decent start. Max Strus ends up hitting a 3 and put the Heat up 9. You're like, all right, pretty good. And then Jason Tatum starts getting off, He hits a couple of threes. And then, oddly enough, I think it was Jaylen Brown, like ends up getting tied up in the corner. They got a lot of momentum riding their way, and they end up calling timeout with like a little over 8 minutes left. And you're like, it's kind of weird, but whatever. And they come out of the break, and just all hell breaks loose for the Heat. Derek White, he hits a three. Max Strus was getting a turnover. Jaylen Brown got it going. They turn it over again. Brown went back to the line again. And then Bam was picking up offensive fouls. Marcus Smart hit a three. They're up into a 16-0 run at this point. They're up 7. Spo calls a timeout. The Heat were like scoreless in the last 4 minutes. Their only baskets were that Max Strus three, which was kind of a fluke anyway because Max Strus ended up getting blocked by Jason Tatum, the ball back in his hands, and then he hits the three. Jimmy, at that point, was scoreless since the first quarter. He got nothing from Jimmy Butler. And they come out of the break. Then Bam turns it over again. Caleb Martin fouls Marcus Smart. And then Derek White ends up going to the line because Gabe Vincent gets in foul trouble. They're on an 18-0 run. And finally, the streak is broken by Jimmy because Boston at this point's up 9. And then Jimmy's basically in like, all right, I got to do something here. It was kind of like, you can only really relate it to the like that game, the 56-point game where it felt like in the first quarter of game 4, like he had to really just keep the Heat's pulse alive because nobody could score. Nobody could do anything for Miami. They wouldn't stop turning the ball over. Boston was getting a lot of confidence going. And so Jimmy really threw his best punch of the game in this one, but it was almost to just kind of make it respectable. And so he was going to the rack and he was getting fouled a bunch. He was getting free throws, and he was really working hard for all of his points. It was not like this beautiful offense that the Heat had been having in this series. And by the end of it, Miami was outscored 38-23 in that third quarter. Jimmy had 15 points in the quarter. And I think the only person after the 18-0 run, I think the only other person who scored a basket was Cody Zeller, and it was assisted by Jimmy Butler. Like, it was all Jimmy Butler. And, you just had this feeling like, all right, they're in this spot, and at this point, they were down 9 at the end of the third. So not terrible, but you could just feel like with the Heat, they just weren't playing well. Now, that being said, even at that point, I'm like, all right, they're not playing well. But fourth quarter, around a double-digit deficit, this is kind of their playpen. They normally are okay, and they come out. This was the other timeout. This is the last session that really was, I think, Miami's best shot at it. Gabe Vincent, he gets a bucket. Bam, in the fourth quarter, gets fouled by Horford and misses both free throws, which has been a rarity for Bam. He's been pretty fantastic free throw shooter, but it kind of speaks to his night. He was not good tonight. Bam was just had an all around tough night. Couldn't score, turned the ball over a lot, missing free throws. It was a rough night for 13 tonight. Kyle Lowry got his first basket and cut it to 5. So the Celtics call timeout. And you're feeling the momentum. You're like, all right, pretty good. And then they throw Mike McDaniel up on the Jumbotron, who is just been to every Heat game. He's got the rally towel going. And you're feeling pretty good, but you think like, all right, you cut it to 5. I'm thinking to myself, oh, Jimmy's going to be coming out now, right? That makes, because Tatum was out, and Tatum comes out for the timeout. I'm thinking to myself, man, no Jimmy. And this is and that turned out, I think, to be a bit of a mistake because Tatum then scores. Jimmy goes right to the scorer's table right after he scores, and then Jaylen Brown gets an alley-oop from Al Horford, puts them back up 9. Spo calls a timeout to get Jimmy in. And so, like, you had that whole momentum that you were creeping back in, wiped away. Now, that being said, Jimmy in the fourth quarter was not Jimmy in the third quarter. Jimmy was getting stuffed by Grant Williams. He was missing a bunch of point-blank shots. Looked like a guy who was a little bit gassed from carrying the team in that third quarter, and they the Celtics started raining threes. Tatum was hitting threes. Jimmy Butler missed a point blank shot, and then Marcus Smart came, and then he hit a three ball, put him up 17. Jimmy then I think he had like 3 straight misses at one point, and then a turnover. Then at one point, Gabe Vincent got hurt. He hurt his ankle. And I think actually Gabe, I remember this. No, Gabe got hurt because he got a 3-ball blocked, and then he was like hobbled up. And then Marcus Smart hits the 3. I asked him about this after the game, and he said as he saw Marcus Smart hit the 3, he ran back out to try and help it out. But yeah, it was pretty much a wrap. The last part that was like there was a couple of bad turnovers, which was kind of the theme of the night. Miami really just did not take care of the basketball. Bam had a turnover, and Jaylen Brown put it in with a 3-point play, and I think that made it like a 17, 18-point game, and there was like less than 4 minutes. I mean, it didn't feel very close even before that, but that was like, all right, there's less than 4 minutes. They got no shot here. It's over. So Heat lose. They fall to the Celtics. Tough one. Tough performance tonight. Really, I would say Jimmy and Caleb Martin and Gabe Vincent were all like your best guys, but Bam, really bad game. Kyle Lowry gave you nothing. Strus and Duncan Robinson not effective from downtown tonight. 3-point battle was a blowout tonight. The Celtics hit 18 threes. The Heat hit 8. The only thing that I think really kept Miami even respectable in this, strangely enough, was the free throws. Miami did get to the free throw line 28 times tonight and hit 23 of them, which was 10 more attempts than Boston, and they hit 11 more than Boston. So that was the only thing that kind of kept it respectable for the Heat, I think, for most of this game, especially in that third quarter where things were getting really, really dicey. But, all in all, am I sweating this right now? I know, I think I saw some stuff where Charles Barkley's like, well, they're the more talented team. And, if he's trying to make a case for it, like, look, I know they came into this with the bravado of don't let us win. Don't let us get one. Which, by the way, Mr. Chattermouth, Malcolm Brogdon, he was a real winner for them tonight. With his 17 minutes, 1 for 5 from the field. More talking than he has done any production this series. So, yeah, I'm not nervous, man. Like, come on. You got to be kidding me, being up 3-0 and Boston finally gets one. They finally have a game where they hit some shots, and I would say Miami just didn't really do anything well at all. I don't think Spo had a good game with his subs. I don't think that Bam Adebayo played good on any facet of the game. He was a minus 21 tonight. Kyle Lowry was rough. And Jimmy was okay. Like, Jimmy had a nice game of 29 points, but like, I think even he admitted, like, I willed a lot of that, and I think that even Jimmy's 29 tonight, 29, 9 and 5, like, his stats look good, but it was like one of those where you're like, yeah, but he didn't quite have like that gravitas that he normally has of like scaring Boston and getting his teammates involved. Like, it really felt like it was Jimmy 1-on-5 tonight, and it just didn't work out. But I will say, being in the locker room afterwards and seeing a little bit of Jimmy's interaction with, especially with Kyle, because Jimmy walks off the court and you can hear him in the press room, and he goes, "We're gonna do it the hard way. Gonna do it the hard way." And then in the locker room where he's got his music going, dude's just relaxed. He's chill. I'll give you a couple of his post-game comments here in a second. But, he was even like with Kyle Lowry, just, relax. We're going to get this done. Not a ounce of panic or worry. I think that they all know that they can play a lot better, that they are capable of a lot better. And I think, and the other thing is, I think Miami played really, really bad today, and I truly didn't feel like it was over until like probably when Jimmy missed one at point blank and Smart put him up 17. I was like, all right, that's gonna be tough to come back from. But even up until then, I was like, you never know. You never know when they'll get it going. You never know. So lots to improve upon as they go back to Boston Thursday night. As Eric Spoelstra just put the parachutes on. They're ready to go. It's been a place where they have they played well. I mean, they've played well in Boston. That has not been a place where, what have they won? They've won like their last, well, I'm trying to think. Won game 3 there last year, and they won game 6. And they won 1 and 2. So what have they lost? What have they won? 4 of their last 5 in Boston on playoff games? You know, it's not a place that's been very daunting for them. Jimmy loves going. Remember Jimmy took the PJ up there this year just to play that one game in Boston. So not worried about it being in Boston. I'm sure that crowd will be fired up, as they should be. I would imagine that, you know, that if that team has any guts, and you never know with them because their mood changes with the wind, that they'll try and hit the Heat with a haymaker early. But yeah, man, you can't be worried about that. I got to be honest with you. Like, until this gets to a game 7, I have no angst. I think that they're going to go top hats and monocles because I think that the calmness that I found from the locker room today, especially from Jimmy, was, you know, it's like, all right, you know, we let one, but we can tighten this up and get this done. Here was Jimmy after the game.
Do the same thing that I do, that we do after every game. We're going to listen to some music. You know, we're going to drink some beers back there. I'm going to go have some wine. I don't think that you could just focus on basketball all the time. You have to be able to, you know, get away from the game a little bit. Think about it. But at the end of the day, you fall back on, you know, your habits, how consistent you're going to be. And myself and my teammates, we're going to do the same thing. We're going to smile. We're going to be in this thing together like we always are. And we're going to go get one on the road.
Jimmy, did you think Boston was just one of these games that they're due because they are so offensively talented, or did you find yourselves as a team thinking there was some defensive slippage tonight?
I think yes, they are talented. And I would tell you in every game they just missed a lot of shots. Tonight they made shots. But we didn't do our job in making them miss those shots either. But I think we let go of the rope on the defensive side of the ball, turned the ball over, didn't get back in transition. All the things we said we were going to do, we did not. And that was the game. And it got out of hand pretty early. Our energy was low, which we cannot have. And it's on myself and it's definitely on the starting group to make sure that doesn't happen.
So, not really sweating it. He was even making a joke as he left the podium today that he wanted the media to start a petition with the NBA so he can get his fine money back for not talking to the media in Game 3, which I got to say, whoever did do that, if it was the NBA or if it was somebody who complained, God, I thought that was BS. You know, I thought enough Heat players had good games where you could do the story. Like, Jimmy wasn't like the best player in that game. And plenty of other guys talked. I thought it was fine for Jimmy Butler to skip out on one. And the guy I will say, Jimmy, like, I won't say always talks after losses, but like, if it's a game of magnitude, the dude typically will talk after a loss. And I just thought that was lame that he got fined for that stuff. But whatever. I don't think a petition is going to be started. So, you know, maybe we'll pass a hat around, maybe a top hat around. So, look, Thursday's going to be a glorious day. Top hats and monocles. You can't be rude in a series. There's a lot of, as much as I hate Boston, there's a lot of heritage with this rivalry. There's a lot of history with this rivalry. You want to be gentlemen to a longtime rival, do you not? So, top hats and monocles, finish the job on Thursday.